guys, what's up? Thanks for joining my channel again. So today I'm going to do a sunset look, so it's going to be like a half cut crease and it's going to use all warm tones. This came from voting on Instagram. I put up 3 different things. I asked if you guys wanted to see a sunset one, a natural tutorial, or a Fenty inspired tutorial. Also, I asked you guys if you wanted me to do the foundation and the brows and like everything on camera, and you guys said yes. So today will be the first tutorial that I'm doing that's going to be full faced and with the eyebrows and everything, so bear with me. I'm going to try to do the best that I can. Try to do the best that I can. So the first thing I start off with is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea 4-in-1 setting spray. And then the next thing I go in with is the Drink of H2O. I really loved it. I'm like almost out of it, so I need to get some more. But a little bit on this side, just like a little dab, and it goes a really long way. And then the next thing I'm going to go in with is the Tarte Under Eye Vitamin C Cream. I'm going to go ahead and go in with the Professional by Benefit. Okay, so that is just prepping the skin. I'm going to go in with my brows now. So for my brows, I'm going to use the Ulta Brow Pomade in the shade Taupe. I'm going to go in with an angled brush, and I'm just going to start by filling in the bottom portion of the eyebrow. Now that the outer part of the eyebrow is done, I'm going to go ahead and take the excess that's left on the brush and then just kind of draw almost like a straight line on the top, just to kind of know where I want to fill in the top portion. So I'm just kind of lightly tapping where I know I need hair, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of it just with whatever's left on the brush. I'm going to go ahead and start on the other eyebrow. Alright, so those are my brows. I'm going to take a little bit of eyeshadow and fill them in. So I usually just use this eyeshadow palette right here, and then I pick up this color right here. And then I go ahead and I just touch up like the spots that I know are thinner. Okay, now that I'm finished with the brows, I'm going to go in with Maybelline New York Master Conceal. I'm going to take that on another angled brush. Define it a little bit more, and then I pull it down. And then for the top part, it's a little bit sketchy sometimes. In the front, I don't use too much concealer, just a little bit. So it cleans it up, but it doesn't look like a straight line like the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom of this eyebrow. And then, like I said, I'm just kind of pulling down the concealer because we're going to conceal all of the eye. And there we go. Eyebrows are concealed. Now we're going to move on to the best part of the tutorial for me, my personal favorite. I always usually just like skip through everything else on the tutorial and just watch the eyes because that's all I really care about. Everyone's got their own foundation routine, so it's kind of personal preference, but since you guys wanted to see how I put my foundation on, I went ahead and decided to record everything for you guys. So what I'm doing is just putting that same concealer, the Maybelline Master Conceal, all over the eyelid for a primer, and just using my finger to blend it out and put it all over the eyelid. The first shade I'm gonna go in with is from the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette, this one right here, and we're going to start off with the most yellow color on it, and then I'm gonna go in with a fluffy brush. So I'm gonna take the yellow pigment on the fluffy brush, and then I'm going to start on my crease, focusing more on the outside, bringing it to the inner corner with a light hand. Start kind of circulating it upward. This yellow, I've noticed, has kind of like an orangey undertone to it anyway, which is, you know, good, but I wish I had more of a straight yellow pigment. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Start with the most amount of pigment only on the crease and on the outer corner, slightly bringing it in. And then I'm going to start circulating it up towards the brow bone. The less pigment the brush has, the better when you start doing this, because you don't want it to be yellow up here. You just kind of want it to have the reminiscence of a yellow, because the yellow is just like a transition color. The color that I want you to see for the crease is going to be more of orange and red. So after we're done with the yellow crease, now we're gonna go into the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette. This one right here, taking that color I was talking about earlier, this one, Hippie. And then with a slightly smaller fluffy brush, we're going to take Hippie and we're going to put that on the crease. And I'm not going to use circular motions, I'm just going back and forth, and I want to focus more on the outer crease more than anything, and then slowly start bringing it into the inner crease. And I'm going to start kind of buffing the orange into the yellow a little bit so it marinates well. Go back in with Hippie a little bit more and start feathering it upward in circular motions, back and forth, just making sure there's no harsh lines between the orange and the yellow. So like I had mentioned, I don't like see too much of the yellow, it's more of just like a reminiscence of it. Like I said, the main focus is going to be the orange and the burnt orange. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Focus on the outer corner first, bring it in, start circular motions going upward. I'm gonna take it again and intensify the orange with a very light hand. So the BH Cosmetics palette is very pigmented. I don't need to be pressing hard on my eye, and then just making sure there's, again, no harsh lines, everything's blended nicely. After going in with the orange, I'm going to go into Naked's The Heat, and I'm going to take the shade En Fuego right here. And with the same fluffy brush that I used with the orange, I'm going to go in with En Fuego. And En Fuego is kind of like a purpley red. All of these colors are warm colors, so I'm just lightly going to put that on the outer corner. That's where I want to focus all of it. I kind of don't want to bring it into the inner corner at all, so just completely focusing that on the outer corner closer to the lash line is where I want it to be more intense. And then I'm kind of just moving it around, lightly feathering it towards the orange, but I don't want it to overtake the orange, so I'm keeping it very low, closer and more intense near the lash line. What I'm doing up here in the orange is just making sure it's blended, and this is already after the more intense pigment is gone. I'm just kind of working with whatever's on the brush and feathering out any of the edges. And I'm gonna tap near the lash line to get more pigment on there. Start blending it a little bit in more. So now we have the outer corner intensified a little bit. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Start by tapping near the corner, and in circular motions, start working your way up to the orange. Start circulating it. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the fluffy brush that we used earlier for the yellow, and it's clean, it doesn't have any more product on it. So I'm just gonna go and then lightly go over the eyeshadow, making sure there's no harsh edges, going in with a little bit more En Fuego. So now that that is all good, we're done with the outer corners. I'm going to go ahead and cut the crease. So I'm going to start with the Maybelline Master Conceal on an angled brush. So with the same angled brush that I used to carve out my eyebrows, I'm going to go ahead and use that to cut the crease. And then how I cut my crease is I figured out that if I start from the inner corner and then just kind of tap, that works best for me, because if I just try to draw the line, I kind of feel like I either go overboard or I don't cut it enough, and it just ends up looking like randomly placed. So tapping, it kind of feels out like where the crease is supposed to be. And then after I'm done creating the shape, I just fill in the rest with concealer to give myself a clean base to work with. Now I'm going to go in and recut the crease with NYX's gel liner and smudger in white. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I just wanted to get the white base on there because since we're going to put yellow on the inner crease, or on the portion that we carved out, I want it to be as intense as possible. So the white base is going to help bring out the yellow more than just the light concealer. And And then with my finger, I'm going to blend out the base so it's not a harsh line. And all the white that I'm putting in, I'm focusing only on the inner corner. I don't want to bring the white out closer to the outer corner because I am still going to blend the darker outer corner with the yellow, so I don't want anything else to be intense but the yellow. So that's why I'm keeping the white closer to the inner corner. Okay, so that's all cut out and blended. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the yellow from the Full Spectrum palette again, and I'm going to go in with a flat brush. And I'm just going to pack on the yellow on the inner corner. And I'm not swiping, I'm tapping. Tapping gives you more pigment, especially with this white base. It's a very sticky base, so the more you tap, the more the pigment stays. Okay, so now that the inner corners are done, what I'm going to do is go back in with Hippie from the Weekend Festival palette right here on a small fluffy brush, and I'm going to put it in the middle between the darkest color on the outer crease and the yellow. And I'm just going to use it to help blend the yellow into the dark color. So I'm just tapping it and very lightly moving it back and forth, and I'm not going into the yellow because I want that to stay really yellow and really pigmented. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to take a flat brush and go in with Hippie to kind of give it some more color payoff, and then with the fluffy brush I'm going to go in and blend it all. And this one I'm kind of doing patting and swiping motions because I do want it to blend into the yellow. Okay, so we just put the transition orange in between the yellow and the darkest shade. So now that we have the transition color, I'm going to go back into the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette and take En Fuego again on a small fluffy brush like last time. And then I'm just going to re-deepen that color. Bring that in a little bit with the orange. Bring it up a little bit. Very light strokes, and I'm just kind of feathering it around the orange. And then the same thing on the other side. Bringing it up a little bit. And there you go, that's the eyeshadow. Now I'm going to go in and do the eyeliner using my handy dandy e.l.f. black gel liner. Like always, I'm going to start on the outer corner and create a diagonal line for myself. So now with a damp beauty blender, I'm going in with Fenty Beauty's Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation. That is a very long name, I can't remember it. Fenty Beauty's foundation in shade 100. It's very light, but I am a very light person. So what I usually do for this foundation is I put it directly on my skin first, and then I blend it out with the beauty blender. I feel like if I put it directly on the beauty blender, then the beauty blender just absorbs everything and I hardly get any product out of it. But when I do it like this, it actually works a little bit better. And I use the biggest side to start stamping in the foundation to my skin. And then I turn it over to get underneath the eye and around the eye area. And I don't want to get too close to the eye because I don't want it to be like a sharp edge of foundation and concealer. I mean foundation and eyeshadow. Blend it into my neck and on the sides. And then moving on to this side. I've tried this foundation both with a brush and a beauty blender, and the beauty blender definitely works better. It gets more coverage and it just looks nicer in my opinion. It sits nicer on the skin. The nose is probably the hardest area to get, and then the bridge of the nose kind of settles too, so it's like hard to blend out, and then it settles very fast, so you kind of need to blend everything out while it's really wet. If not, you get like lines, and that is not what you want in your foundation. Clearly that's what no one wants anywhere on their makeup. Everything is supposed to be nice and blended unless you're doing like a cut crease, but on the face nothing should ever be like a straight line of anything. And I'm just going to conceal under the eyes And then I'm gonna conceal between my eyebrows and around them because that's where I have the most acne. So I'm going in with the Kat Von D Shade to Light Contour Palette. This one right here. It's my fave. So I'm going to stay with this middle shade. And I'm going to put it very softly. I'm going to start right here on my cheek. Bring it up towards my temple. And I'm not going to be precise with it because it's just warming up my face. I'm bringing it up a little bit into the hairline. And then down into the jaw, make it look a little bit nicer, sharper. And then doing the same thing, bringing it down a lot right here. And then of course the forehead, because this is what needs the most contouring. So I just kind of lightly dust it. Now I'm going to go in with this brush right here. It's a smaller fluffy face brush, and I'm going to take the two lightest colors in the shade in the shade to light palette, and then I'm gonna set my under eyes with it, and I'm tapping my under eyes. So now that the under eyes are done, I'll go ahead and just touch up my whole face underneath the cheekbones, and it gives like a nice finish. I really like that this powder doesn't make anything look cakey, and I think that has a lot to do with the foundation. And now I'm going to go in with blush. It's a Kat Von D split pan, and it's in the color Hansel and Gretel. I never really like swipe, I just kind of tap. I mean, I guess it is swiping a little bit, but it's more of a tapping motion than anything. Now I go back in with this smaller stippled brush. It's from MAC, and I go in with the darkest shade in the Kat Von D Shade to Light palette, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit, and I'm going to tap the brush on it. I'm not going to swipe it or swirl it. And then I'm going to go back and forth in circular motions to just kind of bring out the jaw a little bit, but I don't want to have like a line, so I'm circulating the brush. So going back in with the Urban Decay's Full Spectrum palette and picking up that bright yellow again. So with this, I'm just going to get in there, mostly focusing on the outer corner, but it's okay if I bring it in a little bit. I'm going underneath the eyeliner because I want it to look smoky. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to go back into the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette with the Orange Hippie again. And then after that, with the same brush, I'm going to go into the Urban Decay Naked The Heat palette and use the same color en Fuego. So next I'm going to highlight underneath the brow bone with the color Trixie, which is this one right here in the BH Weekend Festival palette. Just underneath the brow bone. Alright, back with some mascara on my eyelashes. Now I'm going to go in with Azarito's lashes in the Pear Legendary. So for lipstick, I'm going to go ahead and use Kat Von D's Lip Studded Lipstick in the color A Go Go. It's an orange lipstick. I think I've used it before on this channel when I was doing the baseball cut crease. If you haven't gone and seen that video already, go and check it out. Next thing I'm going to do is the highlight. So I'm going to go in with the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette again, and then the same eyeshadow that we used to highlight under the brow bone, Trixie. I'm going to take that on this brush right here. So I just tap on some of that, and I'm going to go right here, blend it out a little bit, over here on this side, on my nose a little bit. Ooh, the nose highlight looks really popping right now. Okay, so I'm going in with Fenty's Kilowatt highlight in the shade Sandcastle. It's the split pan, so half of it is Sandcastle, half of it is Minted Mojito. So I'm going to go in to Sandcastle right here. Okay, but when Rihanna's saying shine bright like a diamond, bitch, this is what she meant. Ooh, this is my all-time favorite highlight, guys. Like, Rihanna's highlights are no joke. So this definitely does not need like a base highlight at all like I used. I just feel like it helps diffuse it a little bit, because if not, it would be like a straight line of like beam, you know? So I have to put the under one underneath just to make it look like it's diffused a little bit. It's not so much of like a straight line of highlight, because damn. Okay, beach. Okay, beach. Okay, beach, please. And I'm just gonna finish it off with some setting spray, the same one that I used earlier, Tarte Rainforest of the Sea 4-in-1. Nice and fresh. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. That concludes the video. Thank you so much for voting, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!